Attachment creates blindness in a way that is so subtle you rarely notice it happening. It does not announce itself. It does not warn you. It slowly wraps around your perception until what is obvious to everyone else becomes invisible to you. You begin to see people not as they are, but as you wish them to be. And this is where suffering begins. The human mind craves connection. From childhood, you are wired to seek belonging. To be accepted means safety. To be included means survival. This instinct is ancient, but in the modern world, this instinct can become your weakness if you are not aware of it, because the fear of being alone can push you to tolerate what you should reject. When you are attached to someone, you do not evaluate their behavior clearly. You evaluate how their presence makes you feel. If they give you moments of validation, attention, or excitement, you cling to those moments and ignore the patterns that contradict them. You excuse their disrespect. You rationalize their inconsistency. You defend them when others question their intentions. And all of this happens not because you are foolish, but because you are emotionally invested. Attachment distorts judgment. It whispers, "They didn't mean it." It says, "Maybe I am overthinking." It convinces you that patience will transform someone who has shown you repeatedly who they are. You begin to negotiate with your own standards. What once felt unacceptable now becomes tolerable. What once felt painful now becomes normal. This is how blindness develops. You stop observing objectively. Instead, you filter reality through hope. And hope, when not grounded in evidence, becomes dangerous. Understand this clearly. Attachment is not love. Attachment is dependency. Love sees clearly and chooses wisely. Attachment fears loss and clings desperately. Love has strength. Attachment has anxiety. When you fear losing someone, you give them power over your emotional stability. Your mood begins to depend on their responses. A delayed message creates doubt. A change in tone creates insecurity. Their approval becomes your fuel. Their silence becomes your torment. And once someone senses that you are emotionally dependent, the balance shifts. Consciously or unconsciously, they recognize your fear of loss. Some will handle this gently, others will use it. Power in relationships always belongs to the one who is less attached. This may sound uncomfortable, but observe it carefully. The one who can walk away without hesitation holds control. The one who is afraid to lose holds anxiety, and anxiety weakens your position. This is why inner stability is essential. If you do not know how to stand alone, you will accept almost anything to avoid loneliness. You will confuse proximity with loyalty. You will mistake attention for care. You will interpret temporary kindness as long-term commitment. Attachment makes you interpret isolated good moments as proof of good character. But character is not proven by moments. It is proven by patterns. A person can be kind once. A person can apologize once. A person can show support once. But consistency reveals truth. And attachment distracts you from tracking consistency. You see what confirms your emotional desire. You ignore what challenges it. When someone disrespects you, attachment says they were just stressed. When someone lies, attachment says maybe they were afraid. When someone betrays your trust, attachment says everyone makes mistakes. Yes, everyone makes mistakes. But repeated behavior is not a mistake. It is a choice. Blind attachment convinces you that enduring pain is loyalty. It convinces you that tolerance is strength. It convinces you that sacrificing your boundaries proves your value. But real strength is not found in endurance of mistreatment. Real strength is found in quiet detachment. Detachment does not mean coldness, it means clarity. When you are detached, you observe without illusion. You listen without assumption. You feel but you do not drown in emotion. You care but you do not cling. You give but you do not beg. The problem is that most people are afraid of detachment because they associate it with isolation. But detachment is not isolation. It is independence of perception. It allows you to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. If someone shows inconsistency, you acknowledge it. If someone violates your boundaries, you respond calmly. If someone repeatedly disappoints you, you adjust your access. Attachment, on the other hand, keeps the door open even after evidence suggests it should be closed. Many betrayals do not come from enemies. They come from people you ignored red flags for. Not because the signs were invisible, but because you chose not to see them. You chose comfort over clarity. You chose familiarity over truth. And this choice is rooted in fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of losing shared memories. Fear of admitting you misjudged someone. It is painful to accept that someone you trusted is not who you believed. It challenges your judgment. It forces you to confront your emotional investment. So instead of accepting reality, you resist it. You stay longer than you should. You trust deeper than you should. You reveal more than you should. And slowly, you weaken your position. Strong individuals understand something simple. Trust must be earned slowly and maintained consistently. It is not given because of time spent together. It is not given because of shared laughter. It is not given because of emotional conversations at midnight. Trust is built on repeated evidence of integrity. Observe how someone handles conflict. Do they take responsibility or shift blame? Observe how they react to your success. Do they celebrate sincerely or subtly compete? Observe how they speak about others. Do they maintain confidentiality or share private matters casually? These patterns predict future behavior. Attachment ignores patterns. Awareness studies them. If you want to protect your peace, you must separate emotion from evaluation. Feel deeply, but judge calmly. Care genuinely, but verify consistently. Do not let affection override analysis. This does not mean you become suspicious of everyone. It means you become conscious. There is a difference between being open-hearted and being naive. An open heart welcomes connection but maintains boundaries. A naive heart gives access without assessment. Access is privilege. Not everyone deserves full access to your thoughts, your vulnerabilities, your plans. When you reveal everything too quickly, you create leverage. Information can be used for support or for manipulation. And attachment often rushes disclosure. It wants intimacy fast. It wants certainty fast. It wants reassurance fast. But depth takes time. The strongest relationships grow slowly. They are tested through challenges. They are proven through consistency. They survive disagreements without disrespect. If someone pressures you to trust quickly, be cautious. Trust that is rushed is often unstable. And remember this clearly, your loneliness is temporary, but the damage from misplaced trust can last much longer. It is better to walk alone for a season than to walk beside someone who slowly erodes your confidence. When you learn to enjoy your own company, attachment loses its control over you. You no longer tolerate misalignment just to avoid emptiness. You no longer chase those who withdraw. You no longer beg for clarity from those who create confusion. You become calm, and calmness is power. When you are not desperate for connection, you become selective. When you are selective, your standards rise. When your standards rise, your environment changes. Blind attachment keeps you in environments that do not serve your growth. Conscious awareness guides you toward those that do. There is strength in being able to say, I care about you, but this behavior is unacceptable. There is strength in stepping back without drama. There is strength in reducing excess quietly instead of confronting aggressively. Emotional maturity is not loud, it is disciplined, and discipline protects you. You do not need to close your heart. You need to train your perception. You do not need to become cold. You need to become clear. Understand that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are lessons, some are reflections, some are temporary companions on a short part of your journey. Attachment tries to force permanence where it does not belong. But wisdom allows natural transitions. If someone leaves when you set boundaries, they were attached to your compliance, not connected to your character. If someone withdraws when you prioritize growth, they were comfortable with your stagnation. Let them go without resentment. Clinging to the wrong people delays the arrival of the right ones. And most importantly, when you detach from unhealthy attachment, you reconnect with yourself. You regain mental clarity. You regain emotional balance. You regain self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of wise trust. If you respect yourself, you will not allow repeated disrespect. If you value your time, you will not waste it on inconsistency. If you understand your worth, you will not chase validation. Attachment fades when self-worth strengthens. So build yourself, strengthen your mind, spend time alone without distraction. Learn to enjoy silence, learn to validate yourself, learn to make decisions without seeking approval. When you become emotionally self-sufficient, your trust becomes measured, your connections become healthier, your boundaries become firm but calm. And then you are no longer blind, you see clearly, you trust slowly, you love wisely, and no one can manipulate your perception because you are no longer attached to illusions. You are anchored in awareness, and awareness is freedom. People are loyal to their interests more than they are loyal to individuals. This is not a statement meant to create bitterness. It is a statement meant to sharpen your awareness. When you understand this clearly, you stop being surprised by behavior that once hurt you deeply. You stop personalizing everything. You begin to see patterns instead of feeling attacked. Human beings are driven by needs. The need for security, the need for recognition, the need for comfort, the need for advancement. Every decision a person makes passes through the filter of these needs. Even kindness at times fulfills an internal desire to feel good, to feel valued, to feel superior, or to maintain connection. This is not evil, this is human nature. But when you ignore this truth, you expect loyalty where there is only convenience. As long as you serve someone's interests, you will experience their warmth. As long as you support their goals, you will receive their appreciation. As long as you remain in the role they assign to you, the listener, the helper, the supporter, the agreeable one, the relationship will appear stable. But the moment you change the role, everything shifts. The moment you stop being available at all times, the moment you say no without guilt, the moment you begin prioritizing your growth over their comfort, you will see clearly whether the connection was built on mutual respect or mutual benefit. There is a silent contract in many relationships that is never spoken aloud. It says, I will value you as long as you continue to meet my expectations. This contract is fragile because expectations change, interests change, priorities change. If someone's primary loyalty is to their own advancement and your presence supports that advancement, you are welcomed. If your growth begins to threaten that advancement, you become inconvenient. Observe how people react when you elevate yourself. When you become more disciplined, do they feel inspired or defensive? When you become more confident, do they celebrate or compete? When you set boundaries, do they respect them or accuse you of changing? Growth exposes hidden motives. Many people are comfortable with you as long as you remain predictable and non-threatening. They prefer the version of you that does not outshine them. They enjoy your presence when it reinforces their identity, not when it challenges it. If your success creates distance, it means the relationship was anchored in comparison. Comparison cannot coexist with true loyalty. When someone is internally secure, your progress does not disturb them. They see your success as separate from their worth. But when someone is insecure, your improvement feels like their loss. And in that insecurity, loyalty fades. This is why you must never shrink yourself to preserve relationships. The ones that require your smallness are built on imbalance. Interests also reveal themselves in times of hardship. When you lose status, influence, or resources, observe who remains. When you are no longer useful, notice who still values your presence. Adversity strips away the illusion of connection. It is easy to be surrounded when you are beneficial. It is rare to be supported when you are struggling. And even in struggle, some stay not out of care, but out of obligation or expectation of future return. True loyalty is steady. It does not fluctuate with circumstances. But again, do not misunderstand. Expecting absolute loyalty from others without understanding their human nature will lead to constant disappointment. Instead, shift your focus inward. Ask yourself, are you loyal to your own growth? If you compromise your discipline to please others, you are betraying your own interests. If you silence your truth to maintain harmony, you are choosing external approval over internal alignment. If you neglect your goals to remain accepted, you are placing temporary comfort above long-term fulfillment. Before questioning others' loyalty, examine your own. People align with strength. When you demonstrate clarity and self-respect, those who share similar values will gravitate toward you. Those who depend on your flexibility for their advantage will drift away. Let them. Not everyone is meant to walk with you at every stage of your evolution. Interests shift as you evolve. The person who connected with you during your uncertainty may feel disconnected from your confidence. The friend who bonded with you over shared frustration may feel uncomfortable when you find peace. The companion who enjoyed your emotional dependency may resist your independence. This is not betrayal, it is misalignment. Misalignment becomes painful only when you try to force continuity. You cannot demand loyalty from someone whose interests have moved in a different direction. You can only adjust your expectations and reposition your trust. Trust must be dynamic. It must respond to behavior, not history. Many people make the mistake of granting permanent trust based on past experiences. But people change. Ambitions change. Values evolve. The version of someone you trusted 5 years ago may not be the same person standing before you today. Clinging to old versions creates vulnerability. Instead of assuming loyalty, observe it repeatedly. Loyalty is not declared, it is demonstrated through consistent action, especially when there is nothing to gain. When someone supports you, even when it costs them convenience, that is closer to loyalty. When someone protects your name in rooms you are not present in, that is closer to loyalty. When someone remains steady during your transitions, that is closer to loyalty. But even then, do not romanticize. Accept that every individual has limits. Expecting someone to sacrifice their core interests entirely for you is unrealistic. You must build your life in a way that does not collapse when others prioritize themselves. Self-reliance reduces emotional shock. If you depend entirely on external loyalty, you will experience constant instability. But when your foundation is internal, your discipline, your vision, your self-worth, then the presence or absence of others becomes secondary. You appreciate loyalty when it appears, but you are not destroyed when it disappears. Another truth to understand is that sometimes you are the one whose interests shift. As you mature, your standards rise. As you gain clarity, your tolerance decreases. You may find yourself distancing from environments that once felt comfortable. Do not feel guilty for evolving. If your interests are now aligned with growth, peace, and integrity, you cannot remain loyal to chaos and stagnation. Sometimes protecting your future requires disappointing others, and those who accuse you of disloyalty for choosing self-improvement were loyal only to the version of you that served them. There is freedom in recognizing this dynamic. You stop chasing approval. You stop over-explaining your decisions. You stop trying to maintain connections that no longer align. Instead, you move with quiet understanding. You allow relationships to reveal their depth naturally. You invest gradually. You give trust in layers, not all at once. You recognize that alignment of interests strengthens connection, while conflict of interests tests it. When interests align with values, loyalty becomes sustainable. When interests align only with benefit, loyalty becomes temporary. Your task is not to control others' motivations. Your task is to sharpen your perception and strengthen your independence. Do not become cynical. Cynicism closes the heart. Awareness refines it. You can still care deeply. You can still build meaningful connections. But you do so without illusion. You do so knowing that people act according to what they value most in the moment. If you are aligned with someone's values, the bond strengthens. If you are not, distance grows. Accept this without resentment. The mature mind does not ask, why did they change? It asks, what shifted in alignment? When you view relationships through this lens, you no longer feel personally attacked by natural divergence. You simply adjust your proximity. Clarity replaces anger. Understanding replaces bitterness. Discipline replaces desperation. And slowly your circle becomes smaller but stronger. Because those who remain are not there only for benefit. They are there because your growth aligns with theirs. Your values resonate with theirs. Your integrity mirrors theirs. Such connections are rare, and rare things must be earned through patience, discernment, and self-mastery. So move carefully, trust gradually, observe consistently, understand that people are loyal first to what sustains their identity and interest. Your responsibility is to become so grounded in your own path that whether others stay or shift, your direction remains steady. Because when your loyalty to your own purpose is unshakable, no external shift can destabilize you. And that is true power. Silence protects your power in ways that most people do not understand until it is too late. In a world where everyone feels the need to announce, explain, display, and justify, the one who moves quietly holds a different kind of strength. Silence is not weakness, it is containment, it is discipline, it is control over your own energy. Many people lose opportunities, respect, and leverage not because they lack ability, but because they speak too soon and too much. When you talk excessively about your plans, you release energy that was meant for execution. Words create a temporary satisfaction. You feel productive simply because you described what you will do. But nothing has been built yet. Nothing has been proven yet. And the more you speak, the more exposed you become. Not everyone who listens to you is rooting for you. Some listen with curiosity. Some listen with comparison. Some listen with hidden competition. Some listen so they can repeat your words in another room. Information is power. When you distribute it carelessly, you give away your advantage. There is a reason disciplined individuals reveal little. It is not because they are antisocial. It is because they understand that privacy strengthens position. The moment you announce your next move, you invite opinions. Opinions create doubt. Doubt weakens momentum. When you share your struggles with the wrong person, you expose vulnerability to someone who may not handle it with care. Vulnerability is sacred. It must be earned. Not everyone deserves to know where you are uncertain, where you are healing, where you are rebuilding. If someone does not have the capacity to protect your weakness, they should not have access to it. Many betrayals begin with oversharing. You reveal your ambitions, someone begins to compete. You reveal your insecurities, someone begins to manipulate. You reveal your strategy, someone begins to interfere. And then you say, I did not expect this. Expectation without evaluation leads to disappointment. Silence gives you time to evaluate. When you speak less, you observe more. You begin to notice small inconsistencies. You hear the tone beneath the words. You sense the subtle shift in energy when your success is mentioned. You recognize forced enthusiasm. You detect insincerity. Noise hides these signals. Silence reveals them. When you are constantly talking, you cannot truly listen, and listening is one of the greatest forms of intelligence. Observe how people discuss others in their absence. If someone speaks freely about private matters that were entrusted to them, understand that your information is not safe either. If someone laughs at another person's failure, understand how they may react to yours. Patterns repeat. The quiet person in the room often knows the most because they are not busy performing. They are studying. There is also strength in emotional silence. Not every reaction needs to be expressed. Not every offense needs a response. Not every misunderstanding requires clarification. When you react to everything, you surrender control of your state. You allow others to dictate your emotional temperature. Silence in moments of provocation demonstrates power. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain calm, you remove their leverage. When someone attempts to extract information and you redirect gently, you maintain your boundary. When someone speaks ill of you and you do not rush to defend yourself in every room, you conserve your energy. Your reputation is built over time. It does not collapse because of one rumor, and if it does, it was fragile to begin with. Silence also protects your vision. Dreams are fragile in their early stages. They require focus and protection. When you expose them too early, you expose them to doubt, ridicule, and external limitation. Many people project their own fears onto your ambition. They will tell you what is unrealistic because they fear their own potential. They will advise caution because they settled for comfort. They will question your direction because they lack one. If you absorb every opinion, your path becomes crowded. Protect your ideas until they are strong enough to withstand criticism. Move in quiet preparation. Let results introduce you. There is something powerful about surprising people, not with promises, but with outcomes. Silence creates that element of surprise. It builds respect naturally. When someone constantly announces their moves, people become accustomed to their noise. But when someone speaks rarely and delivers consistently, their words carry weight. Your words should have value. If you speak constantly, your voice becomes ordinary. If you speak intentionally, your voice becomes impactful. Silence is also a filter. When you share less, you notice who makes an effort to understand you without excessive explanation. You see who respects your privacy. You observe who tries to pressure you into revealing more. Pressure is revealing. If someone becomes uncomfortable with your boundaries, it means they benefited from your openness. If someone insists on knowing everything, question their intention. You are not required to provide full access to anyone. Access is earned through trust, demonstrated over time. Another dimension of silence is internal. Mental silence is rare. The mind constantly comments, judges, reacts. If you cannot silence your internal noise, external silence will feel uncomfortable. But when you train your mind to be still, you gain control over impulse. You do not react immediately. You do not defend automatically. You do not overshare emotionally in moments of vulnerability. You pause, and in that pause, wisdom appears. Many conflicts escalate because there was no pause. Words were spoken out of emotion. Secrets were revealed out of frustration. Plans were announced out of excitement. Excitement can be as dangerous as anger if it is undisciplined. Control over speech is control over outcome. Even in friendships, measured speech strengthens respect. When you do not complain excessively, you are seen as stable. When you do not gossip, you are seen as trustworthy. When you do not exaggerate your achievements, you are seen as confident. Confidence does not need advertisement. Silence also protects your peace. The more you explain yourself, the more you invite argument. Some people do not seek understanding, they seek control. They ask questions not to learn but to challenge. You do not need to end every debate you are invited to. You do not need to justify every decision. If your direction is clear internally, external validation becomes unnecessary. There is a calm power in simply saying, "This is my decision," without extended explanation. The disciplined individual understands timing. There is a time to speak and a time to withhold. There is a time to clarify and a time to observe. There is a time to confront and a time to step back. But the default position is restraint. Restraint protects dignity. When you reveal less, you are harder to manipulate. When you complain less, you are harder to exploit. When you brag less, you are harder to compete with. You become unpredictable in the healthiest way. People cannot calculate your next move easily because you do not announce it. And unpredictability in strategy creates advantage. However, silence is not secrecy rooted in fear. It is privacy rooted in strength. You are not hiding because you are insecure. You are choosing not to reveal because you are disciplined. There is a difference. If you are silent because you fear judgment, you are still controlled. But if you are silent because you choose intentional disclosure, you are free. Freedom means you decide what is shared, when it is shared, and with whom it is shared. No one is entitled to your full story. No one is entitled to your complete strategy. No one is entitled to access your inner world without earning trust through consistent integrity. The more you practice silence, the sharper your awareness becomes. You hear what others miss. You see what others overlook. You sense motives beneath words, and this awareness protects you from misplaced trust. When someone tries to test your boundaries, your silence forces them to reveal more about themselves. Impatient people expose themselves quickly when you do not respond as expected. Let them speak. Let them reveal their character through their own words. You do not need to rush into disclosure to feel connected. True connection does not require excessive explanation. It requires alignment and consistency. In a world addicted to noise, silence is rare, and rare things are powerful. Protect your energy, protect your plans, protect your vulnerabilities. speak when necessary, listen constantly, observe everything. When you master silence, you master perception. And when you master perception, you protect your power, become your own strongest ally. Because in the end, you are the only person who is guaranteed to wake up with you every single day of your life. People may walk beside you for a season, some may stay for years, a few may remain for decades, but no one will experience your thoughts, your fears, your ambitions, your internal battles as intimately as you do. If you are not aligned with yourself, no external loyalty will ever be enough. Most people search for support outside before building it inside. They look for someone to motivate them, someone to believe in them, someone to stand up for them, someone to rescue them from confusion. But this search often creates silent dependence, and dependence creates vulnerability. When you rely on others to stabilize your emotions, you hand them authority over your inner state. When you rely on others to validate your worth, you place your confidence in their hands. When you rely on others to defend your name, you become anxious about their absence. But when you become your own ally, something changes. You stop collapsing when someone withdraws. You stop panicking when someone misunderstands you. You stop chasing reassurance. Self-alliance begins with self-trust. If you do not trust your own judgment, you will constantly seek confirmation. You will ask everyone what they think before making decisions. You will doubt yourself even when your intuition is clear. And in that doubt, you become easily influenced. Strengthening self-trust requires discipline. You must keep promises to yourself. If you say you will wake up early, wake up early. If you say you will train your body, train it. If you say you will control your temper, practice restraint. Every promise you keep builds internal credibility. Every promise you break weakens it. The reason many people cannot stand alone is because they do not trust themselves to survive alone. They have not built the habits, the resilience, the mental stability to feel secure without constant support. So they tolerate poor treatment. They stay in misaligned relationships. They ignore red flags because the idea of standing independently feels terrifying. But independence is not built overnight. It is built through small acts of responsibility. Take ownership of your finances. Take ownership of your health. Take ownership of your time. Take ownership of your reactions. The more areas of your life you control, the less power others have over you. Becoming your own strongest ally also means regulating your emotions. If you are easily angered, easily offended, easily discouraged, you are easy to destabilize. And anyone who understands this can manipulate your responses. Emotional control is not suppression. It is awareness followed by choice. You feel the emotion, you observe it, you decide how to respond. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause. That pause is power. In that pause, you choose dignity over drama, clarity over chaos, strategy over impulse. When someone betrays you, instead of collapsing, you analyze. What did this teach me? Where did I ignore signals? How can I strengthen my boundaries? You transform pain into data. An ally does not attack you when you fail. An ally supports you while correcting you. Be that voice for yourself. Many people are harsher with themselves than any enemy could ever be. They replay mistakes repeatedly. They label themselves weak, foolish, unworthy. This internal hostility erodes confidence, and without confidence, you seek external reinforcement desperately. Instead, practice disciplined self-respect. Acknowledge mistakes without self-destruction. Improve without self-hatred. Grow without shame. If you become your own enemy internally, you will search for saviors externally. Another aspect of self-alliance is boundaries. If you cannot say no to others, you are not protecting yourself. Boundaries are not aggression. They are structure. They define what is acceptable and what is not. When you enforce boundaries calmly, you communicate self-value. You teach people how to treat you. If someone reacts negatively to your boundary, that reaction reveals their intention. A person who respects you adjusts. A person who benefits from your compliance resists. Do not fear losing people because you raised your standards. Fear losing yourself because why? Oh, you lowered them. Becoming your own ally also means preparing for instability. Do not assume permanence in anything external. Relationships shift, circumstances change, opportunities close, health fluctuates. If your entire identity is built on external validation, you will crumble when it disappears. But if your identity is built on discipline, principles, and purpose, you remain steady even during change. Develop skills, invest in knowledge, strengthen your body, train your mind, build resources. These actions are forms of self-protection. They reduce dependency. When you are capable, you are calm. Capability creates confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Reduced fear improves decision-making, and strong decision-making protects your future. You must also become your own motivator. There will be days when no one encourages you, days when no one notices your effort, days when your progress feels invisible. If you require applause to continue, you will stop often. Learn to continue without recognition. Quiet progress builds unshakable character. Support yourself with structure. Create routines. Plan your goals. Track your development. When you measure your growth, you rely less on external feedback. An ally celebrates your progress. Celebrate your own improvements, even small ones. Not with arrogance, but with acknowledgement. Self-alliance does not eliminate connection, it strengthens it. When you are internally stable, you enter relationships by choice, not by need. You can love deeply without clinging. You can trust carefully without paranoia. You can support others without draining yourself, because your foundation is internal. If someone leaves, you feel disappointment, not devastation. If someone betrays you, you feel hurt, not collapse. If someone criticizes you, you evaluate the feedback instead of absorbing it as identity. Stability becomes your default state. There is a powerful shift that occurs when you realize this truth. You are responsible for your protection, not your friends, not your partner, not your family. They may support you, they may guide you, but responsibility remains yours. This realization removes blame from your mindset. Instead of saying, "They ruined me," you ask, "What can I strengthen within myself?" Blame weakens. Responsibility empowers. When you take responsibility for your emotional security, financial stability, mental discipline, and physical health, you become difficult to break. And when you are difficult to break, you attract different energy. People respect strength. They may not always admit it, but they respond to it. Calm confidence shifts dynamics. Firm boundaries command awareness. Quiet discipline creates influence. You no longer need to announce that you are strong. Your presence communicates it. Becoming your own strongest ally also means being honest with yourself. Do not lie to yourself about people. Do not justify patterns that clearly harm you. Do not pretend something feels right when it does not. Self-deception is betrayal of the highest level. If your intuition signals discomfort, investigate it. If a situation repeatedly drains you, evaluate it. If a relationship consistently creates anxiety, question it. You are not obligated to remain in environments that weaken you. Your loyalty to your peace must be stronger than your loyalty to familiarity. Sometimes being your own ally requires walking away silently. No dramatic exit, no revenge, no emotional speech, just a quiet decision that your well-being matters. That quiet decision changes everything, because from that moment forward, you move differently. You observe more, you attach less quickly, you evaluate carefully, you speak intentionally. You stop expecting rescue, you become your own reinforcement. And when you reach this level of internal alignment, trust becomes balanced. You trust others, but you do not surrender yourself. You rely on others, but you are not dependent. You connect, but you remain centered. That is strength, not isolation, not coldness, but grounded independence. The world respects those who respect themselves. If you do not protect your time, others will waste it. If you do not protect your energy, others will drain it. If you do not protect your standards, others will lower them. So protect yourself, not with walls of fear, but with structure, discipline, and awareness. Build yourself so stable that whether people support you or leave you, your direction does not change. Build yourself so strong that betrayal becomes a lesson, not a life sentence. Build yourself so aligned that trust is given wisely, not desperately. In the end, the most powerful position you can ever hold is this. No matter who stays, no matter who leaves, no matter who misunderstands you, you remain steady because you have become your own strongest ally. And that kind of strength cannot be taken away.